Okay.
Hello, everyone, and welcome for this first episode of Deep Divers. I am Marc, and I am here today as I will be every day, every day as long as this show lasts, at least, with my dear co host, Natalie. Hello, Natalie.
Hi, Mark.
So, I'm currently established in Belgium for the time being, which should be a short time, but not about that today. And Natalie is currently established in the south of Germany.
Yeah, Natalie from Germany. It rhymes.
It does, it does. So our little European Union or mini version of the European Union is at your service to bring you deep content, as deep as we can actually dive into the deep layers of this reality of ours in this absolutely fascinating universe that we live in. So we hope to bring you interesting, stimulating, fascinating content, possibly every week. And before we start diving into the content of today, I believe since this is our very first episode, I believe it would be nice to introduce ourselves a little bit. So, as I already said, my name is Marc, and I I've been around and around and around and around in the area, the field, which is sometimes a battlefield of spirituality. And in this life, I've seen a lot, heard a lot, read a lot, and experienced a lot in that area, which has brought to the understanding and mindset and state of being I'm in today. So, what I'm practically doing in the field of spirituality is that I am sharing my experience and the tools I have acquired over the years with private clients in what you might call healing and coaching sessions. And I'm also offering workshops and courses. And I would say that currently I am really primarily focused of what I call the closure process, because I believe that this is of really paramount importance at this particular time, at this particular point in time where we are actually closing uh, not only one cycle, but many cycles within cycles in the dynamics of cosmic evolution. So it is really plain for all who have eyes to see that we are at the end of something, but also that something new is trying to emerge. But we cannot really have the new before we have properly closed the old. And that is true cosmically at a planetary level and also very much at a personal level. So, enough about me for the moment. Natalie, who are you, Natalie?
Yeah, Natalie is on the same journey. Mark and I, we know each other since eons, but we re-met, I think, 1.5 years ago or something
Something
like
like
that.
that.
Yeah, as we have been really on a very similar journey, although we are quite different in our personalities. So we are not only deep divers, but we are also diverse. And that is something I hope that will benefit you as when you tune into our little meetings. And yeah, I'm also working on in one-on-one sessions with people as a coach and healer. You could call it that, but actually I'm bringing people home to themselves. as the whole battlefield of spirituality is all about outer beings that are that you should follow. And I came to the conclusion, no, it's inside, the key is inside. And I'm working with the heart, as the heart is our gate to our heart core essence. And I'm also working with the closure process. That is one of the tools in my toolbox. But just like Marc, I have explored so many things, and I offer whatever a client is needing. I'm also an author and have just recently brought out a book that is called The New Age of Deception, and that shall tell you something about our content already.
Yes, it shall. It shall.
Yeah. So, Marc, what did you bring to our table today?
Yes, I just want to issue a little notice of warning to our listeners that, as you have just alluded to, some might find our content sort of provocative at times because we have our own perspective about the currents of modern spirituality, not just modern spirituality, but spirituality at large, but the way certain trends express themselves in and through the area of what I would call modern spirituality, which is primarily the New Age movement. We have our perceptions and opinions about many aspects of it that might surprise some of you and even maybe ruffle your feathers. So I hope you will stick with us and take the time to actually listen and consider what we have to say, and you might find that it has more resonance within you that you might have expected initially. So, without further ado, what I have for today. Well, a few days ago, I shared a post on Facebook that is not from myself, but I found it very interesting and on point. And I believe it would be a good starting point for sharing some of our understanding and perspectives. Because as we were saying a few minutes before actually starting this episode, we want to keep this show as spontaneous as possible. And we will often take current events in the social sphere as starting points for sharing these understandings with you. And so what I'm about to read to you is, it is about the current, how would I say, the current manifestations around the whole Black Lives Matters context and the death or supposed death of the man named George Floyd, if that is his name at all, and what it has triggered in the social sphere, in the media sphere, and the starting point of that Facebook post is actually this movement that has spread by people blackening their profile or their posts, just sharing a kind of black screen on their Instagram account or Facebook account or Twitter or whatever social media related. So I'm going to read this right now. Excuse me. Okay, here it is. So, black magic ritual, harnessing your life force to manipulate reality. Reality inversion. I have used this particular image, so the image of the black screen, and he had written the words virtue signaling matters on the black screen. So I've used this particular image to stir up those who've black cubed their Facebook profile using their black mirror technology. Yes, you mean well, but your quote-unquote good vibes are being harnessed and inverted by design. How is it by design? Good question. Well, firstly, we have to grasp that this 3D inverted matrix is built on magic. If you don't believe in this, then it's time to pick up a book. The very thing you read this post through is a black mirror with circuits, sigils, plagued with symbolism, broadcasting a frequency for you to channel remotely, remote viewing. This is the channel you watched, which invoked a thought form within you. And that made it appear in your vision as a true reality. You don't believe me? Look at what's happening in America with the assaults, riots, and looting. They harnessed your imagination, imagination, through a TV, television, and they programmed you to believe a false event. My intention of this post is to open up the awareness of the sorcery that was the George Floyd "I can't breathe" ritual. With the awareness, the spell loses its potency. Which brings me to blackening our profile pictures. What does this reinforce in the unconscious? I can't breathe. And from the unconscious mind perception, what gets projected out, created, and reflected back as reality? Think. Perception, projection, reflection. Remember, we are at wars with entities that harvest creative life forces and manipulates it, inverts it. They're not co-creators being connected to the creator like you and I. This is why they perform satanic rituals and drink the blood of children. Innocent children have the purest life force in them, which they feed off. So, if there is any cause that people should be taking to the streets protesting about, it is child trafficking, organ harvesting, and satanic ritual abuse on children. Why isn't this happening? Whilst Black Lives Matter has meaningful intent, and blacking out your profile picture means well, it's a clear symbol of the mind control. How so? Well, it's in the mainstream narrative, designed to distract you from the deeper layers of what's going on. And by somehow blacking out your profile, You're signaling how much you care. But if you truly cared, you'd know that all lives matter, including the thousands of children going missing per year. And there is far deeper issues at hand that are now concealed even more because of this smoky mirror of distraction. So, are you really helping? Or are you reinforcing the dark spell through ignorance? Ignorance is dark. Knowledge is light. So let's look at some facts, because the facts matter more than your manipulated feelings. In the footage, it's very evident that it was a staged event or false flag. George Floyd, a porn actor, convicted criminal, which the mainstream media conveniently leaves out, with occult symbolism tattooed on his chest. Barely struggling, then he gets picked up incorrectly, without resuscitation practices, by two police officers in brown uniforms, not ambulance people. Officer Derek Chauvin, making no effort in the footage to choke Floyd. He's not being seen arrested, and his mugshot is a complete different person. Looks eerily similar to a low-level actor of a show called Cash Cab, Benjamin Ray Bailey. Now all of a sudden the coronavirus which attacks the lungs has gone. You can take to the streets, and we are seeing footage of BLM activists and high-ranking police calling out infiltration by an extremist group called Antifa. This is by design, to divide the united. This is why it's important to ask questions and obtain knowledge, because this war isn't fought in the trenches with bombs. It's fought inside the minds of men and women. Hence why the virus is called the corona, meaning crown. So, if this is spellcasting through a vision, and Floyd's script was to say, I can't breathe, words with spelling, what type of ritual are they forecasting? Think. Perhaps one where people can't breathe? Think. Where does the coronavirus attack? Think. What are people who've been saying 60-millimeter waves from 5G towers does? Think. Is this the symbol of America suffocating? Think. Finishing, I pull no punches when it comes to this, because breaking the mind virus matters more than manipulated feelings. The truth is, I care. Knowledge and awareness knocks the sorcery on its arse and gives you the ability to see the fuckery in real time. Not only that, it doesn't allow the piece of tech you're reading this from to possess you, harvest your energy by lowering your frequency into fear. The world is a stage full of bad actors. You're in control of your reality. You're the ultimate authority. You're the author writing the script. not the bad actors, on the greatest mind control weapon used against humanity, the black mirror. And next to the words the black mirror, he pasted
Marc? Okay. Something went wrong. You're frozen. That's interesting. Okay, let's see how we bring him in again. Okay, that's quite interesting that this is happening at the moment. Yeah, I'm sure this is going to ruffle a few feathers. I'm going to make a short break and try to bring Marc back in. Short break to bring back Marc.
that happens to to the future listeners, because it's so good. This is
They
so
cannot stop us. Yeah, but we are really starting Deep Divers with a big boom.
good. Yeah, we're starting with a bang, that's for sure.
Yeah. So, okay,
So let
what
me.
happened to you?
The thing is, when I read the words Black Mirror, that's when my computer crashed. So I was at the point, it's fascinating, absolutely fascinating. So I had just read the phrase, you're in control of your reality. You're the ultimate authority. You're the author writing the script, not the bad actors on the greatest mind control weapon used against humanity, the Black Mirror. So I was just starting to explain that next to these words, the Black Mirror, the person had pasted images of a television, a smartphone, and a computer. And right at that moment, my computer crashed.
Yeah.
So it looks like whoever is following this, and maybe your little artificial intelligence friends, are not particularly fond of us tackling that subject and laying it bare for all to see.
That's
So
it.
I would say so. So I will now read the last sentences of that pretty long post, and a very significant post. Use your imagination and be the change you want to see in the world. And it ends with a disclaimer. This does not dismiss that there are racist arseholes out there that could use a good slapping. It does not dismiss that certain police should pull their heads in. You will find we have more in common with our black, white, yellow, brown brothers and sisters than those who try to convince us we don't. And what better way to castrate and control a certain group of people than to convince them they're victims of oppression? Okay, they keep trying to interfere. So let me close this and let me close that and end my reading. This is the inversion of empowerment, is it not? This pose is one that comes from looking behind the veil of the game behind the game. and how it involves you. How you can make a difference to the bigger picture through knowledge and sharing information. All right.
Well, yeah, and that's what we do. Thank you for bringing that to the table. And I'm not sure if this guy didn't die. And I feel that some people, it might ruffle their feathers to deny that. And for me, it is, even if he has been an actor, they will not allow him to live. They cannot allow anyone to come out with such a story. So even if it was staged, I'm sure they have taken his life anyway. So, and all lives matter, all lives matter. But what they are doing at the moment is this divide and conquer all of us. And they are turning everything upside down. They are, with this crown virus, they try to separate people, the ones who are afraid of the cause of the health issues, and the ones who are about freedom. They have a total different discussion. And here again, we have people who are having a total different discussion. There are people who are buying into the story of the race war and the submission of a color, skin color. And that is actually, of course, true. But on the other hand, those people who do this, they see all of us as their slave. Yeah. And that's what they try to bring in, a world where all of us are on our knee. That is what they try, and where all of us are wearing a muscle, where all of us can't breathe. And the symbol of the black mirror and the black cube is so important for black magic. It's one of the things that brought me on my path when I found the black cube and the energy that is behind that, that has enslaved the whole planet. That brought me to this path where I started to question even the spiritual narratives and the New Age narrative. And that is used, and people are not aware how their attention and energy is harvested. And that the whole thing is, now I'm having a phone call coming in from a number I don't even know. It's really, they try to interfere in all ways possible. Yeah. And they really try to steal and harvest people's energy, and they don't care about black, white, yellow, male, female. They will bring up all of that to divide us, while they are playing both sides. They even play the black and the white magicians. They even play them both sides, because they want to rule over all of us. It's an excellent article you brought here today, Marc. Yeah.
So I'd like us a few minutes from now to go deeper into your experiences that you've just mentioned. But before we do that, I would like to submit a few considerations about what is the essence of this Facebook post, that what we are really dealing here is the mechanics of mind control that are being asserted on the human population on this planet, and that have been for a very long time. And yes, nowadays screens are the main instruments and the main channels through which mind control is being imposed on humanity. But one of the first things I would like to notice about this whole situation is the versatility of the mass media, the mainstream media, which is totally part, of course, of the mind control apparatus. Because just 1 week ago, they were still freaking out about some people congregating, gathering in groups on places like beaches, for instance, and telling us how dangerous and irresponsible that is, and how we absolutely not should be out in groups, or not even indoors in groups of more than a few people. And now you see thousands upon thousands of people going onto the streets demonstrating in big packs, you know, very close to one another, wearing these stupid masks that serve no purpose at all. But okay, that's another discussion. But you see these same people going out in huge crowds and very packed crowds, being actually applauded and celebrated by the same media as examples of upright citizenry. So you see the absolute contradiction, the totally contradictory messages that are sent out by the mind control people. That is so outrageous that most people don't even catch it. Because why? Because they are submitted to that relentless assault of emotional trauma that totally catches them frozen in the moment, that they don't have any perspective. Their memory is just getting brought out of the picture. They don't remember that yesterday the same people were telling them, you cannot gather together, you cannot go out in the streets and be close to other people. They forget that, because the emotional assault is so extreme, is so intense, that they can't take a step back to connect these two dots, even though they are so close, so incredibly close to one another, and really in your face, and they're like the nose in the middle of the face. But we can't see them, we can't connect them, because our awareness is frozen and caught into a split-second moment by the traumatic assault we are subjected to. So these are two aspects of the mind control we've been subjected to. The Black Mirror technology, which is primarily the television, in fact, because television is a hypnotic technology, it's a hypnotic device. The radio waves it broadcasts are entraining the brain into alpha state, alpha waves. And when the brain is primarily in alpha state, it is at its most receptive. And so everything that is appearing on that screen will be passively accepted by the brain as reality and be readily absorbed. So that's the Black Mirror technology aspect of mind control. Trauma, constant imposition of trauma, is another aspect of the mind control, because as I said, it freezes you, it freezes awareness in a state that cannot take into account the bigger picture. And also what it does is it actually splits the psyche, and it is a technique that is being deliberately used on individuals as well. And this is really one of the darkest aspects of this whole mind control context. It is that some individuals are actually subjected to trauma to the point of torture, physical torture, in order to split their psyche and then program certain splintered aspects of the psyche so that your global awareness won't be aware of the programming, because it only affects certain splintered fragments of the psyche. And that's how all of a sudden some people can be activated as assassins, for instance, even though they look like perfectly normal people and would never dream of actually hurting someone, let alone murder someone. So
is it possible that the cop and this George Floyd, that they have been part in such a mind control program? Because even if the cop is someone who seemed to have a little bit of a brutal background, his behavior was just not normal. And I can't believe that an actor is acting so badly, you know. So maybe he has been mind controlled. And also the guy that the George Floyd, maybe he has been mind controlled too, because this is something that they love. They traumatize people to then use them later for such events.
yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all, because on top of what I have already read from the post, there were some really strange connections between these two individuals. For instance, it has been revealed that they were working, the two of you had been working in the same nightclub for many years as bouncers.
Yeah.
So did they know each other intimately? Not necessarily, but they had contacts inevitably. They must at least have seen one another a few times, and at the very least have spoken a few times. So the whole thing doesn't smell good at all, very clearly. And when I saw the first instances of people posting black screens, black squares, or black rectangles on their social media accounts, I was immediately struck by a very uneasy feeling seeing that, including some people I have, that are some people that I really respect. It's very interesting how you can entrain people, playing with their good feelings, you know, playing with their good intent and human feelings and humane feelings, how you can enlist them into that kind of psyops. This made me think of another such psyops, another such black magic ritual that had happened a few years ago, which was the Ice Cube Challenge, if you remember that.
Yeah.
Which I had found creepy as hell. For those of you who might not be aware of it, or maybe even too young to remember it, the Ice Cube Challenge was a kind of sort of charity thing to raise money for some good cause, I believe. And in order to do that, people, most of them celebrities or minor celebrities, but ordinary people as well, would record themselves, film themselves, pouring a whole bucket of ice cubes on their head. So speak of trauma-based mind control.
Yeah.
And what does that have to do with charity?
Because the ailment is they were collecting the money for is giving those people the feeling as having those as being in an in ice water. But my reaction has been, oh, that's great, yeah, please give money to the charity and to make sure that those people are being taken care of. But why would you have to put this ice bucket onto you? And I would never have done that. Of course, I'm not a famous person, so I wasn't challenged. Yeah, but I would simply give the money and take care for those people, and not put myself into harm of any kind. Yeah, why would I do that?
Mhm. No, in fact, I remember seeing George W. Bush going through the whole little uh, shenanigan, which I found was not a good sign at all. But you have to see what this actually means at a symbolic level. To pour ice cubes onto your head, what that means in terms of freezing your consciousness.
Yeah.
Because maybe we'll go into what we believe consciousness actually is later, but my understanding is that consciousness is universal mind energy. So actually free, and it's primarily centered around the head. So closing down actually your own consciousness and your own mind, freezing it to make it more programmable. And I remember reading from people, ordinary people, not celebrities, who were actually peer pressured to do that stupid thing because everyone was starting to do it. And they really didn't feel like doing it. But they were like, well, you know, everyone is doing it, so maybe we should as well. So when are we going to do it? So it's that whole play on the herd mentality, the hive mind, the trauma-based mind control, and the good feelings, the willingness to do well, the willingness to be in solidarity and to be helpful, which is a deeply ingrained human impulse and humane impulse. And it's one of the things that struck me in the whole coronavirus psyops, that the psy-operators were playing both sides. They were playing both poles. They were primarily acting through fear, so through the negative pole, but they were also pushing their propaganda through the positive pole by telling people, let's be in solidarity, you know, let's stand together to get out of that situation. I remember seeing posts in supermarkets, let's spread solidarity, not the virus, which means you have to obey all these ridiculous guidelines because you don't want to hurt other people. And also these playing on gratitude, you know, calling out people, asking them to express gratitude, primarily to the medical people, because oh, all of a sudden they're heroes now. So you must be grateful to them. And yeah, I really would like now, if that's okay with you, to dive deeper into the whole black cube aspect of all this, because it's a deeper level. It's a really deeper level of mind control, because mind control comes in levels, and beyond mind control there is consciousness control.
So let's take a short break, have a sip of coffee, and then we dive deep.
All right. Okay.
So let's dive deep into the mind control. Keep on going, Marc.
Actually, I was going to hand the mic over to you
Okay.
because when it comes to the black cube, you are the expert, at least in terms of direct experience and immediate awareness of it. So I just want to preface this by saying that in terms of the layers of control in our immediate cosmic environment, and I mean by that astrologically speaking, or a celestial body speaking, the closest and most concrete agent of mind control that we have in our environment is the moon. The machinery that exists inside the moon is what specifically targets our minds. Now, there is a deeper level and more ancient level to the control, embodied, if you want, the embodied manifestation of control in your solar system, which would be Saturn and its rings. And esoterically, it's been known for a long time that the black cube is connected with Saturn. Many people consider it a symbol for Saturn. So why don't you tell us, Natalie, of your experiences with the black cube?
Yeah, actually, I wouldn't call myself an expert. I'm just an experiencer, as I didn't know about the background of Saturn, that it is said that there is this control issue with the cube. I simply stumbled over this, like over many other topics, by personal experience, as I knew somebody who was mind controlled, and she was aware of that, and she searched for my help, and I removed something, and it came back again and again and again. She couldn't get rid of it. And so I said, I want to go to the root cause of it, and I astral traveled, and I said, okay, I want to find out where this comes from. And actually, we are coming to the topic of religion now, as I ended up under the temple in Jerusalem, where I found such a manifestation of the black cube. And over time, I had many, many adventures all around this black cube that is related to the traditional religions on this planet. And the woman that had this mind control issue, she said she has been abused by her God. She used these words. She was aware of that, but she couldn't let go of that, as people who are mind controlled, even if they reach this level of awareness that they are mind controlled, they are afraid to let go of that control. And I think that is something we have to take into consideration when we talk with people, why they are so willingly following those narratives, why they are afraid to question it. And it is really difficult to speak with people about those topics, because they cannot allow the truth to enter their mind. They are so deeply traumatized and controlled that it feels to them as if they would lose all safety. Yeah, and I traveled didn't know about the whole narrative. I only found out later. And yeah, I traveled to the moon, I traveled to Saturn, and finding their installations and also the rings of Saturn, I found there have been little cubes in these rings. When I traveled there, I could see them. And I didn't know those stories. How could I see what is there if I didn't know these stories? It's true. It's actually really true. So for me, it is, I, I, I simply explored those realms, and I found those to be true. And what is also connected with that is the whole topic of black goo. That is also related with this black cube. And yeah, it is really, it is like a huge, huge curse that is really laying over the collective consciousness of humankind. And for a long, long time, I couldn't understand why people haven't been able to process these informations, but now I see that it is really a matter of deep, deep traumatized, splitted minds who are into survival mode. Because every time you have these trauma, and I have been traumatized and mind controlled myself, I have been on the receiving end of these techniques myself, so I can understand what is going on, that people, they are really into the Stockholm syndrome. They cling to their abuser. Mm-hmm. And so, because it gives them a feeling of safety, if they obey to whatever they are told, it gives them a feeling of safety. If they know on the subconscious level, they know that something isn't right, and they know that something feels strange, but then there comes this, their mind is convincing them and is telling, yeah, you're doing what everybody's doing, you're doing what is right, you're a good human being, you just behave in the right way, you see everybody else does it too, and they hope in this way that they will reach a kind of safety, and that is what is heartbreaking for me. Those people are not bad people that are used, you know. They are really controlled. They are really under a spell, and they can't help themselves. And it's really important to reach the ones who have enough level of awareness to take it into consideration, whatever we are sharing here. In the first moment, it might sound a little bit far out, what we share here, but if people would simply say, okay, I just take it into consideration and just not decide it's right, it's wrong, just take it into consideration and watch what is happening and be the observer. We have to learn to become the observer again, instead of losing ourselves in those narratives that are offered to us. So I question everything, and I believe nothing. And of course, belief is always, the lie is already in the wording. And there is a narrative that is told to us, and the belief is, it's a really tricky thing, because all of those people, they believe to be good citizens, and they believe to do the right thing. And as you said, it's so close, I can't breathe. And the whole crown virus thing, it's so close, and people still can't see it. that it is all about taking away their breath. And what is breath? But our connection to the life force itself. And that is something that is really, that's really sinister to program our mind. So we have a black mirror, we are not even existing anymore, and our connection with the eternal life force is taken away from us to program us in this way. And there are many people who are suicidal at the moment and who are depressive, and think what this does to those people, and no one thinks about that. And in the end, we should all stand together and not let ourselves divide from all of those stories and programs.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned religions, the connection between the Black Cube and religions. And this is actually it's been for millennia, actually, it's been the dominant form of mind control. It's been religion before we had the black mirrors. Before we had television, it had always been religion. And some people might say, okay, stop with the sinister perspective. There is truth in all religions. They all have a core of a fragment of truth, and we can find truth in all of them, and then put the pieces of the puzzle back together. I have a different perspective on this. In fact, it's true. I agree that there is truth in every religion. But I believe the true reason why there is that you cannot lure people, really, if you don't offer them a core of truth. So in order to, because we humans have that deep inner sense of resonance with what is real, with what is true. So when we are exposed to it, we have that response of, yes, I want to go there. I want to go there, it feels good. And then you will find that around that core of truth, there is a whole web of lies and manipulation and twisted dogma and beliefs that is actually capturing you. So that is why religion is such an effective mind control instrument. It's because there is truth to be found there. And then you also have the aspect that these kernels, these core kernels of truth that you can find in religions were very often delivered by people who were by beings who were highly enlightened, highly aware of what is real. And then these sharings, these beautiful sharings were captured and twisted and wrapped in all these manipulations. And there was a definite connection between religions and the Saturnian energy, the Saturnian matrix. And it's not by chance. Everything is significant, everything is symbolic. So why do you see 7 rings around Saturn? Why are there rings in the first place around Saturn? Well, these rings are encircling the planet, and they are really symbolizing limitation and containment, and somehow imprisonment, you might say.
Yeah, and that is where the imprisonment energy comes from. As you know, I'm also into astrology,
Mhm.
and in astrology, Saturn stands for our limitations, the rules, the law, the order, all of that. And the moon that you have mentioned is for its subconsciousness and also our fears. And that is not because of those celestial bodies are are bad. It is because the programming that is coming from there is that onto the human psyche. And yeah, that is why people have, it gives them a feeling of safety if they follow those rules, and actually they try to, yeah, out of fear they are following the rules. There you have the connection between the moon and the and Saturn. And yeah, I found those installations that are for mind control on the moon and on Saturn. Yeah,
Mm.
it's really happening there. And what is also interesting is you said people are feeling, they are feeling that something isn't right. And I, observing myself, I have realized very, very often I could feel something was off, but then the mind control sets in, and then you are telling yourself, you're convincing yourself because of the given narratives. Oh no, that's a nice guy. He's just friendly. They are just well-meaning. Um, and of course, Black Lives Matter. And therefore, I will show this. I will show I'm a nice being. And of course, I care. And that's why I will follow those yeah, those
Rules.
programs.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you just said, that you've been surprised who was falling for that, because there is this short moment where something feels off.
Mm.
But we are so used to suppress this feeling, and especially the Black Mirror, all of those devices, they are leading us away from our own feeling. Um, Your and my work is to bring people back to themselves. Because when you are connected with yourself, you are at least aware something feels off. But the more people are spending time in front of all of those devices, it's like they are sucked into this energetic field and they are losing the contact to themselves.
Yeah, and it's actually a core issue of all this context, what you've just said. It's always about separating ourselves from ourselves and inserting a third party uh, to split our awareness. And that is exactly what religion is doing. Religion is putting a person in front of you that is called a priest, who is parading as the intermediary between yourself and whatever deity you're supposed to worship. You won't have access of the deity if not through the priest. Ultimately, in fact, the priest is imposing it himself, or in certain cases herself, when it's a priestess, upon you as an intermediary between you and your own spirituality, which means actually your connection with everything, your connection with your inner being. That's the outrageous claim that priesthood is making, to be the official, to be the official and certified intermediary between yourself and your own inner life. And we see that program reproduced in modern systems of mind control, where what are you dealing with? The media, the intermediaries between yourself and your own perception, the intermediaries between yourself and reality. How are you accessing reality? Through the media. How do you know something? Well, because the media said it. How would I know? How would I know?
Yeah, because you feel. And that's the thing. You have this reaction when you see something for the first time. Actually, there is a physical reaction, but we suppress it. We suppress it, and then we follow the authorities, the ones, the author that is telling us the story, instead of being the own authority in our own life. We don't trust ourselves, and that is what they did to us, and what mind control actually does. It is separating us from ourselves. It puts somebody, an outer source of truth in front of us. May it be religion, or may it be the newspaper, or somebody
Or the government.
Yeah, or the government. Yeah, yeah, they govern us. Yeah.
What does government do? It governs your mind.
Yeah.
Because mens in Latin means the mind.
Yeah.
And gubernare means to lead, to direct. So the job of a government is to direct your mind in a certain direction. So you're not directing your mind anymore. That authority, that body, that outer body of authority does.
Yeah, and they are using our mind to create reality, because the moment you believe this story, you will act accordingly to the story you are believing. They are telling you, and in this way, they are creating this reality that has been a story. In the beginning, it's just been a story, and in the end, it becomes reality as we act as if this, because we believe the story. If somebody comes to you and says, okay, Natalie, she's telling these mean stories about you, Marc, yeah, and then you think, okay, what's wrong?
Would do that.
Yeah, I would do that. And then you would act accordingly to this. And then I would think, okay, what's going on with Marc? He's really nasty lately. And then I would, of course, I would act differently. And then you think, yeah, I knew she never liked me. And then somebody is telling you a lie, and the moment our mind believes it, we start to react in a way that makes it a reality. And that is what is happening at the moment. It doesn't matter the crown virus. when people are afraid, their immune system is really weakened, and all those social distancing, that is also weakening our immune system, and then we get ill. It is really, these stories are creating those realities, and now bringing up all these stories about the unrighteous treatment of people of color. That is, of course, true. It is true. There have been many incidences where that has happened, and there are quite some people who have this mindset, but in overall, it is still a tiny fraction of the population. But bringing this friction into the game, it will become stronger. Because now people are thinking, yeah, all the white people, they have always been against me. And my white neighbor, he always looks at me in a strange way. And then black people start to become racistic towards white people. And then this is how you create this split, and that is all that they want. They want to split us. They don't want us to see each other as simply as our brothers and sisters. And that is what we should do. We should turn it around, and we should really start to do the opposite of whatever they want. If they want to divide us, we should stand together, but not in a way where we where we make it worse. And at the moment, there are many, many incidences that try to make it worse.
Yes, and we could also delve into the whole subjects of agents provocateurs, which is a French expression, by the way. How these really dumb, really very, very dumb Antifa people are, which are white people, by the way, mostly, are used to come and use the opportunity of these demonstrations to break things and beat people up, which they love doing. Because Antifa stands for anti-fascist, and they are the most fascist people you could think of. In fact, if ever if they disagree with anything you say, they will start to hit you, basically. But we could also talk about the way the police is actually doing a lot of the breaking and posing as demonstrators to excite people, to stir things up, because well, they just want to get bigger budgets and get an excuse for their own violence. But I wanted to go into what is actually the root cause of all this. The root cause of the authority, the infliction of trauma, the mind control. And there was something that was mentioned in the post about harnessing our energy.
Yeah, let's make a short break and then dive even deeper.
Right, let's do that. Let's catch our breath.
Okay, Marc, so tell us, what is the root cause of all of that?
Yes, this is a really very big subject. It's a very, very big subject, and it has really deep and ancient causes. It has to do with what you actually, Natalie, call the vampire empire, which is a very accurate brand label for it. Harnessing energy is the name of the game of the Matrix. Simply put, it's all about harnessing energy. And why is that? It's because the people who are at the top of this whole structure of control, and they're not people actually, I'll say beings who are at the top of this whole structure of control, it's what they most want, is to harness energy. So we see that reflected in the whole earthly control structure. And there is just one simple example of that, it's taxes. What does the state do? Most of its activity is about what word would I use? Let's not say extorting, let's say extracting. Extracting financial energy out of you. And that's what it feeds off. And that's what enables it to impose upon you even further. The story of the building of the state apparatus is one of a constant strengthening and ever more invasive control upon society and upon your lives. So if we look at authorities, And the people behind the scenes who are in control of what is officially the authority, harnessing energy is what they want. Now, if we go beyond planet Earth and beyond the third dimension of physicality, if we go beyond that, what we find is a really massive empire that is not only interplanetary and interstellar and intergalactic, but also multidimensional. And I don't know many people who are aware of the extent of this, how big it actually is, how massive it is, and how diverse it is. Because people who have started becoming aware of all this are usually thinking of certain races, like maybe 3 or 4 of them at most. And they are thinking that these are all negatively polarized entities who want to feed off low vibration energies and the low emotions like fear and anger and hate. And that's it. And they don't realize how much bigger this picture is and how much bigger this structure is, and the mind-boggling number of races that are part of that paradigm, and how vast the beings at the top of this pyramid of control actually are. And you can really call them gods, because that's what they call themselves. They call themselves gods, and they are these vast consciousness energy beings. And they are the ones who actually started all of this a very long time ago in the history of this universe. They are the ones who started to feed off the energy of other beings. And the way they did it is by demanding to be worshipped initially, because that's ultimately what they are after and what they feed off. It's devotional energy, it's worship, it's adoration, it's adulation. That is what they want. It's not what some of their minions want. Some of their minions want the dark, heavy energy and dark, heavy feelings. The ones at the top, the gods, they don't really care about that. They care about your worship, really. And that attitude and that pattern of wanting to extract energy from you by somehow deceiving you into believing certain things, you really see it reflected at every level of the pyramid and throughout the whole multidimensional empire and through any structure of social control you have ever seen. It's how it works. And initially what they did is convince other beings that they were inferior and powerless, and that they had to rely on these other guys who were supposedly superior and more powerful and more knowledgeable, and that you really needed to have their protection in order to go anywhere in life. And yes, also they have created you. They have created you, so you'd better be grateful. That's how the whole thing started, and that's what its core underpinning still is to this day. And that's what you find in all religions at the end of the day. So don't believe that you're just dealing with demons and archons and some reptilians, whatever. It goes way beyond that. It goes way beyond that. And these beings over time, these gods, as they are called in their paradigm and in their matrix, they have assimilated millions of races and millions of civilizations into their empire. So even though it is still tiny compared to the entirety of the universe and the entirety of life in this universe, it is still tiny. Compared to our perception of things, it is absolutely huge. It is absolutely huge and way, way, way beyond what most people can even conceive. So yeah, the black magicians are after harnessing energy, but it's not only the black magicians, as you said, Natalie, it's also the white magicians, because these beings, they play both sides. They play both sides, and their matrix has a negative side and a positive side. It has dark and it has light, and something we will explore in further episodes. I would call them synthetic dark and synthetic light, because it's their own version, their own twisted and distorted version of these two natural expressions of life in this universe that are dark and light. It's their twisted version of that.
And actually, that is what I want to talk with you about in the next episode, because this is really, really important for people to understand how this game is played with the light and with the dark and the synthetic and the organic darkness and light. And once you are aware of this, you can perceive it again. Once I realize what is going on, I can see it now. I can see it, touch it, smell it. The energetics are different. And actually, when I think back, when I saw some pictures of some light beings, there was something a little bit off, you know, it's this strange sweetness. Something isn't quite right about this. Yeah. And it's too etheric. It's too much.
Yeah.
And that is how you can perceive it. And I think that is a deep, deep topic. And yeah, I would like to explore this in our next episode. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I think we will wrap it up now.
Let's do that.
And yeah, thanks so much, Marc, because you have really, really brought so much in today, and you have been very much focused and showed the whole variety and how deep all of that goes and how everything is related to everything. And actually, I think our listeners, we are really, we are inviting them really, really deep. But it is going in is the only way out. Going through all of that is the only way to really free themselves. It is not by following any entity, any religion, by nothing of that will help them in the end, because we are all been deceived for so long. And yeah, we are here to end this now. We are doing it for ourselves, and whoever feels maybe there's something about it, we will be happy to have you with us to dive deep.
Until next time.
Until next time, you're Natalie.
And here, Marc.
Bye.
Bye.